Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. There is a 3 stamp challenge on the Stampscapes Facebook group too. And I thought I would do something along those lines, but I'm doing a little bit of a, I don't know, fun twist on that challenge here. And it's using an 11 by 17 piece of paper. And I'll be using the Pines and Rocks, the Babbling Brook, and a little horse stamp right here. So I mean, it's just having a little bit of fun with the format there. I don't think it's a 3 impression challenge. I think it's a 3 stamp challenge, as I think it was worded. So anyways, it's kind of just an extreme version of what you can do with 3 stamps in an extra large format here, just to really maximize kind of the usage of how Stampscapes designs have been rendered and how they can break down into different types of usages within the same layout of the design and breakdown of it. Okay, so anyways, let's just get to it. All right, so I'm doing this just because all of my demo stamps are put away right now, or they're packed up. I went to a show this past weekend and nothing is unpacked, so I have all my different pads that I've been using of late and all of my media, papers, etc. are all packed away, so I am using a very old, I think it was new though, Memories dye-based black ink. All right, I think it was delaminating too. It was a really old one. I think it was in its cellophane and I took it apart, but this top part was loose. So let's just see what I can do with this here. All right, so I don't do too many 11 by 17 pieces. It's very rare. I think I've auctioned off just about all of them. So anyways, if you got one of those, glad it's found a really nice home. And if it's on display, I hope you're enjoying it. But okay, so I'm just going to start off with my foundational designs. I don't have too strong of an idea of how this layout is going to be. But it'll come to me at some point in time. It might be 70% into this composition here. It might come sooner, but you don't have to have, a super strong notion of the final piece, okay? You can just kind of start off and get into it. I didn't ink up that top part. I need more cushion here. Let's use some, I grabbed some 11 by 17 matte paper, but let me do something here. I'm going to take a magazine here and place this under here. No, I'm not going to worry about that because, this is going to be a huge piece and we're going to be doing so much overlapping, but you can see where it didn't stamp out right there. So, that being said, I used a little bit more cushion and I don't know, well, that should do the trick. Okay, so I mean, like everything was put away, like a lot of my blotter paper and everything. That I took to a convention this past weekend. If you came to the show and came to the booth, thanks so much for dropping on by. Enjoyed my time with everyone and seeing, some fellow stampers and longtime stampscapers. Always a fun time. Okay, so that's going to be my mid-ground area. We'll try not to get too repetitive with that waterfall part of it and that little rock right there. That one really stands out. So we'll try to vary things, but we'll have other things going in front of it too. So because I don't have I'm not using like my boulders with lichen or something like that. I'm going to use the top portion of this quite a good deal for some additional foreground imagery along with the Pines and Rocks here. Okay. It'd be interesting to do an 11 by 17 piece with, where we can only use like I don't know, A and B size stamps or something like that. Wouldn't that be crazy? Okay, I'm stamping off of my magazine here. Let's move that over. I squished that one. Okay, this is going to be a totally blurred image right here. It's not too bad, actually. Huh. Okay, now, like I said, I'm stamping this in its entirety, but I'll try to obscure some of the more repetitive types of patterning that starts to develop here. With the pines and rocks. All right. Now maybe I should actually clean some of this off and stamp a different portion. Or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe I'll just let the pines and rocks do the trick. Okay, so this is going to be I want to create some cascading styles of falls here as well. I was about to take pad to stamp, but I remembered this pad is a little bit loose on there, so maybe that won't work. We'll come down here and make this one a little bit lower. Yeah, that's on my magazine. Okay, now maybe I should start utilizing some of the pines and rocks just to get my bearings in terms of I don't know, placement. Now on this one right here, I've used 4 almost complete impressions right here. It's just the top portion. Some of my images right here might have some StazOn ink on them. I've been using a lot of StazOn for some different types of surfaces. And I don't take too much time to clean it off very well, so that also might be kind of resisting some of the ink, with my first couple impressions here. So I don't know. I'm not really too anal about that really at all. Okay. Some trees right. Oh, I stamped off of my magazine right there. It's hard to remember, when doing these really large pieces, but just remember, landscape stamping, it's all about the overlap and, the repetition of form. So you can just add more, which is a really great thing, and just overlap and cover up what you might have been unintentional and or undesired. Okay, see that? Stamped out a little bit, missed a little bit right there as well. So let's come over here. There's no kind of set. Now, if I'm working on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 page card, then I'll be limited to some of the, I don't know, whatever fixes that might be called for in certain cases. But when it comes to a larger piece, sometimes you might think the larger piece is kind of harder to do. They're not really harder to do, but they certainly take more time just because the amount of coverage we need to provide, to the area. Okay, let's see. Right. For the most part, I have my rocks, or my pines coming in back of the rocks. I'm masking off here, but let's go in and use some of these pines in front of the rocks as well. And it sandwiches your rocks into the location. And it gives them a little bit more of a 3-dimensional type of look. All right, now There's, of course, a very similar, because it is the same, rock structuring up top here, but this one right here didn't stamp out. So the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and just loosely mask off, I mean, this is just a torn paper towel here. Okay, here's my magazine right here. Let's get this, okay, in position right here. And I'm masking off these rocks, and we'll put some additional trees into place. And we'll do this throughout this middle ground area. All right, see how that's going right there? A really good scene is just, stamping this out, or a really good card. So this is just kind of another version, an extreme version, again, of the usage of this design. Usually, I don't see people getting too much bigger than 11 by 17, but I have seen a scene that was about, maybe it was 5 feet across or something like that. I don't know if it was using this stamp, but I think it used the Lakeside Cove that kept going on forever. It was really cool. Okay, we'll put some pines and rocks down here. Something like this. Okay, I think I just got a text from someone. Okay, resuming. I think we have a pretty good layout working here right now. Planting more trees in this location. Let's put another tree right in here. I like to leave a little bit of a space for a viewer to visually enter a piece too. So I usually don't close off the entire bottom portion, but I guess I could potentially. There's a lot of variation. There's not like a position of where you're going to stamp something and say, oh my gosh, that shouldn't have went there, or something like you made a mistake. It's not like one place or another. It's just like, where can one of these, elements go, and, would it look okay there? And, oh, maybe it doesn't look so good there, but maybe if we put something right next to it, it looks better. It's more along the lines of something like that. So if you get an isolated tree or something like that, or image that looks kind of strange, then what you do is you connect it up with some more trees. Okay. Going off the top of the seat of my magazines, right? I have to keep track of that magazine. Magazines and newspapers are a really great cushioning element, because there's so many pages and there's a little bit of air in between the pages. It's kind of it's like the perfect like stamping mat, I guess you can call it, especially for large images with a lot of surface area like that. It really compensates for any type of irregularities or something like that in your stamping surface. And you also don't need as much pressure on your stamps when the bottom of the page is contouring to your impression maker. That requires, pretty much a flat surface. So make things easy on yourself. Okay, so see how that's looking right there? And I'm looking at it kind of overall, but I'm also looking for, areas that might look a little bit too repetitive or something like that. I think it's looking pretty good, though. I haven't even really tweaked the trees, like just started stamping like the one tree or something like that. So there's like 3, 3, 3, 3, or I don't know. There's like a little pine behind that, so it's really 4 trees. But let's do something where we're just using kind of the top portions of the trees in some areas like that. Okay. And trees don't always have to be kind of coming from up top there. You can mask off this rock right here, okay? And, get a tree coming out from kind of one of the closer rocks to us. Now, I have these trees going on over here too, but, they just end up being down there or something of that sort. So that also contributes to, the illusion or the presence of, I guess it's not the illusion of, it's the presence of variation within the forms. We can also do other things. You can also, if you want some of these trees to look more distant, you can stamp it off once and then stamp it off on your scene, and they'll look a little bit more gray and farther back in the distance. I'm just going with black for right now. So then a little overmask, but that's fine. Okay, so we've gone with a lot of impressions of these trees right here. And I'm going to go back in and add in some additional rocks. So we're going to layer things because I have a lot of space up here. We've only kind of covered in half of the space down here. So here comes that kind of more cascading aspect of this particular composition. So what I'm going to do too is I'm going to wipe off kind of the lower half of this entire stamp so that it stamps out quite a bit lighter, okay? And I'm going to wipe off the bottom part pretty good here, okay? Now that's the reason why is because I'm going to stamp this in areas that are going right over my trees, and I don't want like a real hard impression of this because I want to see the silhouette of these trees. Now you don't have to do this on every scene, but see if I stamp this down here and this is completely black, it's going to obscure those trees a little bit, or a lot, because it's black on black. But hopefully I'm getting black trees over kind of a lower section at least of these rocks, which will be stamped in gray. I'm using black ink, but I'm just wiping off a lot of it before I stamp it off here so that it stamps out a much drier version of black, which should be some variation of gray, I'm hoping. So it's always kind of getting the feel of how, dry that is. So see that right there? How you get the forms in there, and it looks like it's just going back into mist or something like that. And only top portion is dark. So you get dark and lighter and lightest down there. So I think that looks great. So let's keep doing that. Put a entire kind of bank of or wall of background falls into the scene. And you take off a pretty good portion of it, don't just kind of lightly dab it, wipe it off pretty good. And then see up here, I'm wiping off a little bit lighter and, I don't know, slightly more, I don't know if it gingerly, but, you know, just with lighter pressure and less strokes going across. You don't want a real super definitive line, so I'm going really dry down here, and up here you're kind of dabbing it off a little bit. You know, so if you have a really super wet pad, you know, just take off a little bit more. Okay, so here's another thing. Since I've kind of, you know, really wiped off this, it's going dry, medium, and wet up there. You don't have to do any masking off down here because this is all dry down here. So if I stamp it over something, it's not going to show up like it's in front of this, even if I stamp it over this, because this is going to be so light in value to begin with. So this is what people say. I was mentioning this at the convention. People say, oh, you make it look so easy. Well, do techniques that make something easier to do. So in this case, I'm wiping it off, and I don't have to worry about, you know, dark against dark or something like that, anything obscuring with it. So it's the use of, it's often, I was explaining to people, it's the use of media. So when I'm doing a colored pencil technique, I'm using a really light touch at first, and then I'll go heavier and heavier if I want it to get darker and darker. Oftentimes when I'm coloring something, I start off with lighter tones with my dye-based inks or something like that. Then I work into my darker tones as I go. In this case right here, I'm just working with a very light version of black ink in this location right here. So it's not obscuring anything, and I don't have to do any masking. I don't know, I hope that makes sense. You know, just do easier techniques, you know. You know, if you're supposed to be doing kind of a dry brush technique, don't have too much, like, say, pigment ink on your applicator, you know. Just have a very light version of it and build up your inks, tones, shadows, whatever, highlights accordingly. Now, in doing something like this, ideally I'd be working with, you know, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 designs for this composition, but I think this is looking pretty decent for, you know, 2 stamps so far. You know, not 2 impressions, of course, but 2 stamps. I might make this like some falls coming down or something like that in there. I'm not sure. Or do I want to do that? Yeah, maybe I'll go a little bit lower like this. Okay, we'll come up about like this. I don't know if a tilting that would be a good idea. I'm using my Memories Black. I see this pad getting a little bit kind of, I don't know, whatever, delaminated. It's kind of shifting over. I think it is loose. Let's go about up here. Let's go fairly high up here. Okay, I think we're getting there. Let's go back to the pines and let's build this up and almost touch the top of the, you know, the paper, the composition now. Did I throw away my, I think I threw away my, oh, here's my, my mask here. This is getting a little bit ratty. Even my paper towels are, my roll of paper towels are put away. I don't think I have another roll in my demonstration supplies, so we have to go with what we have here. An ink pad and a half, well, I don't know, like a third of a sheet of a paper towel to create this. All right, I'm going to start doing something. I'm going to start tweaking my trees a little bit here. So I'm going to go with that kind of lighter on the bottom and darker on the top type of thing on my trees. So kind of putting some streaks into it a little bit too. Now that one I streaked off. Looks like I took off a lot of the ink off the portion that I didn't even stamp out. So let's remove a little bit more here. Let's see how this goes. Missed a little bit down there. Let's mask off. Hit a couple trees in there. About like so. Okay. A little bit lighter there. All right. Let's try something here. Let's go for some really light imagery in the background if we can. Let's just go for a second impression. Now, I really removed off quite a bit of ink, with that last impression, whatever one it was. So let's see if we have, a decent amount of ink still on here. Yeah, that was a lot more ink than I thought would be on there. It was this one right there, plus a couple extras. Let's go for a third impression. These memory pads are really, really juicy. It certainly didn't look like it would have that much ink on the stamp. it looked like most of it came out, so I'm really surprised at how dark that image was. Still a decent amount. Look at that right there. Gosh. Dare I go for another? Let's try it. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, fourth impression here. But it certainly looks like kind of a tree that's much farther away, like that. Okay, so now I mean a third stamp would be really good in here. That's going to contribute to the overall foundation of this landscape. But I thought going with something really small would be, kind of a kick. And okay, so someone brought in these photographs. She goes kayaking in this river in Arizona, and there were a bunch of like wild horses in the water. Okay, which was really awesome looking. And I thought I would do something like that. So I'd, have these horses in here, just drinking some water or something like that. So we're saying that this water isn't very, deep or something like that right here, of course. But let's give this a go here. My voice is kind of trailing off because I suddenly wondered if I should stamp out some rocks, kind of under the water, maybe. Let me see something here. I'm going to try some really light impressions of my, light impressions of my rocks right here. And that's hopeful, that kind of looks like they're under the water. I'm going to add in some streaks in here at some point in time. With tones and things like that. So if you kind of put something in lighter impressions within your water areas, and then you add in your tones and coloring and everything like that over the top of it, those images like that look like shadows or something like that below the water's surface, and that's what we're going for here. Okay, so let's get these horses in here as our third stamp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off, on this case, I'll wipe off a pretty good amount of the legs here. Maybe I'll go with a little bit of the nose there. So again, it's going from wet to dry down here. This one was a straight, swipe like that. So I just want to make it look like it's, I don't know, like submerged in the water. Like it's walking like halfway or something like that. And I'll hopefully, when I do my toning and everything like that, my shading and highlights and stuff like that, this will look like, those horses are in the water right now. It looks like they're in, I don't know, whatever, grassy meadow or something like that, but, we'll fix that. I think I'll go for 3 of these. This isn't supposed to look like, those photographs that I saw over this weekend, but it's just my little, whatever, nod to, those photos that we're seeing, which were really cool. Totally different environment, but anyway, wild horses in the, whatever, Sierras or something like that. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to add in some paper towel, red paper towel, sky structures up here, and that's the way I'll get around, some different textures in here without going into another stamp. Yeah, because it's a 3-stamp challenge, so, the torn paper towel type of thing. And we'll create some clouds up here, or at least some different types of sky textures. And then we'll get into I think some monochromatic grayscale shading and lighting within the scene. So I think that should really target our viewers' attention in a given area. And it'll also kind of eradicate even more so some of the repetitive types of forms that we see in some areas. So we make some areas a little bit darker so that that rock right there won't look so similar to that one over there. But I think these rocks in the background look pretty obscured, and I don't think it looks so kind of repetitive or, whatever, picket fence-ish, you know what I mean, with the same thing stamped over and over and over again. But like I said, lighting and shadows should eradicate a lot of that as well. So anyway, all right, so that's our foundation right there. And, we'll be back to finish this off later. But this is part one. Thanks for watching.